What's up? I usually say, what's up, flooring family? I'm going to say, what's up, skilled professionals out there? Welcome to the huddle. We're here every Tuesday at 3 p.m. Central, where typically Daniel, Jose, and myself discuss maintaining forward progress in your flooring career. So we're in the last part of a kind of a three-part series, although it's kind of listed as two, in estimating and bidding. We've pretty much went over everything, but to round it out, we're going to talk about certified payroll projects, or the Davis-Bacon Act, and how you as an installer, as a subcontract installer in particular, should, some of the things you should know when looking at these types of projects, and the paperwork and the requirements that are there. So, Daniel, we were chatting offline. How do you guys approach your certified payroll projects or Davis-Bacon projects, or do you avoid them all the way around?
We have typically avoided them altogether because over here in our area, we're the only ones, and this is where we kind of had that little conversation, right? Where like we're the only ones around the area that actually pay our employees on a W-2. And around here, it's a lot of the other guys, from what I've gathered over the years, seem to think that it's okay to not pay themselves those rates since they are the owners. So there will be like a chain of a sub of a sub of a sub. Like everyone on that project is typically their own business, or there's just one guy on there, and then I don't know how they get away with it, but no one.
So they all claim
Really,
sub of a sub, and
right, either that or they have a team there, and it's just nothing is kept track of how it should, which is crazy because, based on the conversation that I've had with some of these contractors, everything is like super documented. So I have no idea how they do it or what they do, but on some of the projects when my brother and I were working by ourselves, that's kind of how we did it. And the companies that we were doing the work for, that's what they told us. So it was pretty much, you don't have to pay yourselves the rates, just fill this out and let us know, the how much you were paying yourself, so that way we can turn it in. And that's what we were doing. But that was just, us by ourselves. So that's something that we really haven't touched. And we've seen, with the Freedom of Information Act, some of the rates that these companies are going in at for prevailing wages. It's like they're going in at under normal rates. And how do you even pay these guys
well, first off,
higher rates like that?
So let's talk about a couple of things. A is, when you're looking at a certified payroll job, you got to get the wage determination sheet first. That wage determination sheet varies so greatly between counties and jurisdictions. Give you an example. We got a large certified payroll project going on up at Fort Riley, and I think the tile on there pays, the wage is 58 something, 58.62, I believe, somewhere around there. So, if you're looking at a project and you can install 100 square foot by yourself in a day, and you have to, and you're gonna cost, let's call it $50 an hour. Well, the easy math, that's, on a 8-hour day, let's call it real close to $500, and your tile price per square foot is going to have to be north of $5 a foot if your average output's 100 square feet, for you to make any profit outside of paying for yourself. And that's not even having a helper or an apprentice. So, you got to look at these things, and especially if you're being offered to do a certified payroll job by the square foot, and then you're going to fill out the U.S. Department of Labor form, which is the certified payroll form. So that's how we do it mainly, is we'll have the sub, whoever owns that subcontracting company, they're going to fill out their own certified payroll forms for each person that they paid and all the proof of payment. You've seen those forms before, haven't you, Jose? Or I mean, Daniel?
Yeah, Jose was actually just right here. He said that he's going to be signing in a second, so just keep a lookout for him. I was putting it in the chat, but yeah, we filled them out before, and they do. They
Well,
want to.
let me see if I can share. Ashton, if you're there, let me share. Let's see if I can share my screen. Think you just got to go up and to participants and make me a host.
And what you're talking about too, that goes beyond just the certified payroll stuff. It's you can get all your rates if you break it down that way to make sure that you're going to be profitable. It's
yeah, I'd be looking. That's a great point, Daniel. Is like consider that on all your jobs, but particularly when you're talking about. And the reason I say the wage determination is so important is because the fact is, in some areas, the tile labor, for example, a journeyman tile installer is $29. And in some areas it's $60. I mean, it varies that much.
Yeah, I think over here for the tile guys, it's I think around 56. And then you always have to look at where are as a carpet or resilient guy, where do you fit in? Because you're gonna have to go based on something else because we're not in there.
Yeah, most times we're not in there. Every once in a while you'll find floor layer on the wage determination. Otherwise, you get lumped in with the painters or something like
Or the
that.
carpenters or something, because I think over here we're ran with the carpenters. So you gotta be careful how you're classifying yourself.
Yeah, and you got to make sure you're classifying correctly too. Here's a little tip: if you're going to do a certified payroll job, if your helper or your apprentice is installing tile, and the Corps of Engineers puts in their daily report that this guy's a tile installer, and then you turn in your certified payroll, and I'll show you what that looks like real quick, what a report looks like for our audience. This is, can you see my screen okay?
Yeah, I can see it. Yeah.
Yeah, so this is, you got your work classification right here and your hours worked standard and overtime each day, and then the rate of pay, and then the gross earned, and then all your tax stuff and total deductions. So this isn't, if your Corps of Engineer guy labels your apprentice as a tile setter, which is typically what they're classified as, or what the classification's called within the certified payroll wage determination, and not a tile finisher, which is typically, $15 less or so. If they see him setting tile and they report him as a tile setter for those hours, they're going to call your they're going to make you redo your certified payroll and pay him the difference. That has actually happened to us, where we had a really good apprentice that was setting tile alongside the journeyman installers, and they classified him as a tile setter, and we had to go back and pay him tile setter wages for those hours that he was actually installing. Another piece of info is this is a daily work classification, or a weekly, I guess what I'm saying is this is a weekly work classification, so you could get tied into that rate of pay for a whole week. So the key here is this form is not incredibly complicated to fill out, but you can see it breaks everything down. So you got to be, the sub has to be paying their employees as employees and keeping out the FICA taxes and the withholding tax and any other deductions. And then, they've got to be able to track and provide proof of all this as well. So that when you get over here, you got your final amounts. So anyway, I thought it'd be helpful just to see what a certified form looks like for those of you who have not. So typically we're going to have our sub fill that out. Now, if we're having our in-house guys do it, then our W-2 employee installers, then we're going to have our office manager will fill this out based off of their mobile timesheets.
Yeah. So, I think this is, some good information for the guys, because a lot of them, when you really look at the big picture, they don't even keep track of everything in like QuickBooks or anything. A lot of the guys that I, know personally that around the area, they're box of receipts and, just putting it in a folder and giving it to an accountant at the end of the year, which at least they have an accountant. I'll give them that.
Yeah. Yeah, at least they've taken some steps there. And there's software out there, like you said, QuickBooks. GoCareer does a lot of this. A fair amount of the work we're going to be even adding some more features for installers to have more financial tools at their disposal, receipt capturing and that kind of thing, where you can keep a loose set of books if you don't have a full accounting system like QuickBooks. But so I guess the biggest piece to all this that I wanted to make sure I conveyed to anybody looking at a certified payroll job is to consider the paperwork when you're going to look at doing a job. You're going to have to report, and a sub of a sub of a sub of a sub. The problem is then you're stuck in with your GC typically has insurance requirements, and not everybody's going to have, for a big project, say a $5 million umbrella or something. Hell, we have I think an $8 million umbrella. So you got these big requirements for jobs that, I mean, a lot of subs aren't going to pay $4 or $5 or $10,000 for a year of liability insurance.
Right. Especially for one project. And the other thing is, don't get bullied into doing these projects from some of these contractors, because we've been in the situation before to where they have us start on one of these projects, and then it isn't until we turn in a bill and then they're like, well, where's your certified payroll? And, luckily it was just my brother and I at this point, but it's like, what are you talking about? Like, this should have been communicated way in advance. So just, if you think that it's one of those projects,
if it's on a government installation, whether it's a fort or an Air Force base, you're about a 95%, maybe even 100%. I don't know that I've ever done a job on a government installation. We've done the FBI headquarters. We've done tons of work at our Air Force base and the VA. Most of those jobs are going to be certified payroll. So before you bid a job, ask for the wage determination sheet, that's my point. Find out what you're going to have to pay the people that are working for you on that job, and find out how, and I showed you the Department of Labor form. There's actually a second sheet to that. You can just Google it and it'll come up for you. But the key here is to know what you're getting into, and then consider security. It's going to take, like when we're going on to an Air Force base, a lot of times it takes half hour just for the guys to get through the gate. And so make sure you're thinking through the inefficiencies that the government brings to the table. I hate to say that, don't shoot me, Mr. Government, but fact is that they bring in efficiencies and red tape that when they come on to when they're part of the job site, your production will go down. I promise you that. And if you're not used to working on government jobs, depending on the Corps of Engineers and if they're involved or not, I can tell you that one of the things is inspections do happen on these jobs. I honestly kind of wish this happened on all projects, but where we could call in for inspection, and that we had to get that written off as part of our processes in flooring. It would add a level of professionalism that the GCs wouldn't be able to push you around. You know, you're getting your inspections. But for example, we just did a set of really big bathrooms, and it had to be waterproofed everywhere, and the prep had to be inspected prior to waterproofing. So we had block walls we had to grind down and get smooth and level. And so that had to be inspected prior to waterproofing. Once the Corps of Engineers signed off on that, then we could start our waterproofing. When that's done, it got flood tested and inspected. And then when that was done, we could finally start installing. And it took 48 hours on both cases to get those inspections scheduled and in. So we lost 2 days worth of work while we were waiting for one of the Corps people to come in and inspect. So I don't want to scare people off. I'm just trying to give you the reality of what these jobs require. So, you know, just take that all into account when you're looking at doing a project like that for one of the large flooring companies, or even if you're considering doing it direct with the GC and you got a good relationship and you're going to do a job direct with the GC, that's fine too. Just make sure that you have the wage determination, realize that Davis-Bacon and certified payroll go hand in hand. So those two terms there are other certified payroll jobs that are not Davis-Bacon, but all Davis-Bacon jobs are certified payroll.
Right. Yep. And with some of these GCs, I've talked to some of them, and they have an entire department, really. I don't know, a few people, but they're like,
accounting team.
If you have any questions on this, you can come in and we will pretty much go break it down for you, so that way we know that you're turning in something that we're going to be able to use. Because if you're not keeping track of it, they can also get in trouble.
Yeah, that's a good point. The fact is it's in their best interest for your certified payroll to be accurate and come through. So most of them will work with you because, it holds up their payment. Like one small sub can hold up a multi-million-dollar payment just because their certified payroll isn't in or correct or done or whatever. So, there's more pressure obviously at that point. So make sure you're informed. That's what I'm trying to get out here. Make sure you're informed about the processes and what is needed. I'm hoping that we're conveying the pertinent details, but you're going to have to continue on with whoever you're working for, whether it's the GC or the flooring company, to get, like, we help our subs get the certified payroll done because we have to have it done, which the GC has to have it done. So everybody's in this together. That is probably the one benefit of it. But outside of that, I would say, consider again your wage determination and what the per square foot for labor is, and make sure that makes sense, to your daily production time and how much work you think you can get done in a day. If you're an employee installer working for a flooring company, we give our guys some goals to hit and things like that. Because obviously everybody has to stay profitable. We got to keep the lights on and people fed, and you got to make profit for that. So, I think outside of that, the other thing to consider that I brought up and I think is really important, you just don't think about it, is the lost time. I mean, an hour a day is not excessive to figure in dead time on a project like that.
And it's not even with some of these certified payroll stuff. We were working at one of the factories over here. They do baby formula, and couldn't have any stickers on anything, no stickers on hard hats. So it's like, dang, every other job we got to put a sticker on there for safety. So go buy some new hard hats. Then you go in there, this has some wood on it. You can't bring that in there. And then every tool that is in your toolbox, you have to take out and wipe down before you bring it in the job site.
Yeah, Yeah, I mean, that it's worth noting that this is really about investigating what you're doing, like understanding what you're doing. Because to your point, we did a MRI room where they weren't shutting the machine down, and we had to use ceramic knives with ceramic blades. We found a ceramic hand roller. We had to hand roll the whole thing. That's all made out of ceramic. The entire piece is made out of ceramic. So yeah, there's other crazy job application things out there, project requirements out there, but yeah, knowing the project is what it comes down to, or at least knowing the requirements, and that's really what this is pointing to, is like make sure you're informed on a certified payroll job, know where you're at and how you have to report and what you're going to get paid. I think the best way to do it for even a sub, pay yourself a weekly amount of, whatever the wage determination is above and beyond.
Yep.
And then pay all your people, and the difference is yours, right? I mean, that's how it works. So keeping I don't see how a sub of a sub of a sub works in this scenario. And I'm sure some guys have figured out how to make it work, but it's just so messy. I can't imagine a GC being real happy about getting 3-4 different certified payrolls from one company to do a job. But yeah, that's kind of my spill today, was just really based around certified payroll, and just the one piece that we didn't get to in the previous discussions, that I think there's so much government work going on. It's one of the strongest sectors right now. Not saying it's going to continue, but I'm just saying right now I don't know how it is up in your area, but across the nation, from an overall standpoint, it seems to be very strong. But
I
around
I've
us,
talked
it's
to
super
some
strong.
people at some of the meetings, like through the city and the chamber, and this a couple of the people in there said, I only do government jobs. That's like, they started out as private, and then once they got into the government jobs, they're like, that's all I do, and all my referrals come from strictly government jobs. And it's like, that's crazy.
Well, if you get somebody who specializes in the paperwork, and it's really good. I mean, the my wife does it for us at Stewart and Associates, and she's a machine, if you're really good at it, there's a good opportunity, because not there's a lot of people that just say, forget it, I don't want to mess with it. And so you can have some good margins on those jobs, and still, employees like it. Like, our guys love when they're getting paid, another $10 an hour or something to do some work. As long as you're efficient and you know what you're doing, it's not a bad business. It's just, you got to know, and be aware. And if you are, then, and you're willing to jump in like those people, and just stick with it. If you can make a few more points and you don't have to get beat. I mean, it's certainly on a job. If you have a school job on a Air Force, or on a fort, an Army base, or that services the Army base, and then you have a school job elsewhere, you're going to have a lot more competition elsewhere. I guarantee you that. So if you can get good at it, and you want to get good at it, and you want to invest the time and effort it takes to make sure that you're crossing your T's and dotting your I's, then go for it, because you can make a little bit of extra money, which
Yeah, that's what she said. She said that she got into it not really knowing what it entailed, and then as soon as she got that first project, and then she got some different certifications behind her, like being a woman-owned business and stuff like that, and then that just kind of turned into, I only want to use you, and
yeah,
we know
yeah.
what you can do.
If you can get those certifications, like the small business, the minority, the women owned, or stack those up, there's a lot of government jobs that have 15 to 30% up to 30% of a job. Sometimes and each one's a little bit different, but as far as the requirements, but say up to 30% of the job has to be performed by minority women, disadvantaged companies, as they say.
Yeah, if you're out there and you haven't looked into any of these certifications, that's definitely something that you should do, because even with us for a while, it was like, why would we want to get this like minority business certification and stuff like that? And it's like, well, they're there for a reason, right? If we can use it to our advantage, why not?
Amen. Amen. If there's a program out there that will benefit your company, do not be too proud to go do that shit. Excuse my French.
Seriously.
Go do it and take advantage of, I mean, it's there. Someone's going to use it. You might as well.
I'm seeing it a lot outside of even the government work, to where, these private companies want to hit a certain percentage of, disadvantaged
diversity.
businesses. Yeah. So even if you're not going to go for the government work, it's worth a shot just to see what else they can bring to the table.
Yep. I agree. And so your local chamber help you with that?
Yeah, we're still in the process right now. So through the city of Grand Rapids, we have what they call a micro local business enterprise, which you're only allowed to be in it for 10 years, and you have to be, hey, he's there. And you have to be, a certain size. Once you hit a certain dollar amount, you're no longer eligible. So
yeah, it's the same thing with the small business
yep. And then the chamber has been they rolled out a program to where they're paying for minorities to get their MBE or WBE, whatever it is. So the MBE is minority business enterprise, WBE is women, then they have the disadvantaged, and there's multiple things out there. We don't know what you said because you're breaking up.
MLBE.
We just talked about that one.
But yeah, there's a bunch of different. You got service disabled veteran, Indian owned,
yep,
Native American.
The crazy thing is, right now when the chamber is helping us out, and we're trying to get it, but as a Mexican back in the day, they wanted to classify and put white on our birth certificates. So now I have to go back, and they're asking for like my mom's father's information. It's like, I don't know. Like, how do you cut through this red tape with stuff like that? I have no idea.
But yeah, I've never done it, so I'm interesting. It's interesting to listen to you talk about it. And
yeah, so if you look at our birth certificates, it says that we're white.
Well, gentlemen, welcome
we don't speak Spanish. We don't speak Spanish, so might as well run with it, I guess.
Well, but the process outside of that, has it been your chamber? Would you recommend that whoever is maybe on this call or consuming our content here, if they're looking to do a minority status of some sort, would you recommend they go to the chamber and start there?
I think that the chamber in general is a great place to go. I mean, especially if you're doing a lot of commercial work, because you're getting in with all the builders and stuff there, and it's just a great place to meet other people, right? Because we always talk about networking. It's just like that, except for it's not in the industry. It's who else can I work with around my local area? So like, I'll go to events. He'll go to events. He'll join some groups in there. They have like CEO roundtables. It's just a great place. And then with the certification stuff, like the MBE, they have their program to where they'll help you out any questions that you have. But this one is actually through the city of Grand Rapids is paying for us to get ours, and they hooked up with a different company. So they're pretty much just the bridge. They're like, we'll get all the information together, set you up with your own point of contact, and then they help you out.
So the answer, the short answer is yes. Go to your
Yes.
chamber, and
Yeah, don't
if
go
you're
to it.
wanting to explore becoming a minority-owned business of some sort, whether that's women or race, or if it's service disabled veteran, or what, any of those programs, get with your local chamber, and just start there. I think that's probably
Yeah.
the best place to start.
It is, because we met the guy from the city of Grand Rapids at a chamber event. So great
Awesome.
networking.
Well,
It is good networking as well. And hey guys, sorry I'm so late, but man, I tell you what, switching phone providers, make sure when you're doing your estimate that you calculate some of that. Man, but
well, we were just talking, we just went over certified payroll, Davis Bacon stuff as the
He was on
final.
Facebook listening.
I was listening on Facebook the whole time.
Oh, gotcha. All right. Well, that's kind of the whole crux of this this episode, was just rounding out the last piece of information that we've hit bidding and estimating pretty hard a couple of episodes, and just to kind of round it out, if as you heard while he was on Facebook, just being aware of what you're bidding, and
yes,
and know how to follow the guidelines, because they will hold your money. 100% guaranteed.
100%.
You don't have your certified payroll done, and you're the one that's supposed to do it, you will not be paid. So just consider all that. And so, and then we got into a little bit of how you become certified, small business or women owned or minority owned or whatever, just because it was a natural kind of segue. The fact is,
because we like to go on tangents.
Yeah, go off on a tangent.
But it was a good it was a good one.
If you're going to be, we are talking about certified payroll. So if you want an advantage of getting some of that work, and you feel like you can do that paperwork that I showed, it's really not that complicated, but it can be daunting a little bit. You might as well, if you're a minority or you're a woman, you might as well take advantage of those programs, and then you can get even more government work. And if you're comfortable doing the certified payrolls and all that stuff, like we talked earlier, I mean, you can make a good living doing that. Yeah. So
even if you're not going to be bidding it direct and you have those certifications with you, the company that is going to be using you can actually use that certification too, and it counts towards it. So
yeah, exactly. That's a great point too, Daniel, is like, if I'm Stewart and Associates doing a government job with XYZ GC, and I hire Preferred to do the labor for me, then I get to their status, as long as I can prove this, their status counts to the GC's overall percentage status. So me as a flooring company having minority subcontractors that are certified minority subcontractors, I should say, can give you a bit of an advantage, and I'm just an old white guy. So
got to take it when you can, right?
That's right. Well, that's about it for this episode, guys. It actually is shorter, even though every other time I've said that, we tend to fill up the whole hour, but
super short for me. Sorry again, guys. I'm sorry about the lack of communication.
Oh, you're good.
That.
He's not.
I couldn't hang up on him, man. Couldn't hang up on him. 2.5 hours a day.
Well, I'll tell you this: if you were the only one that missed, I'd pretty much have to shoot myself in the foot if I gave you any great grief over it. So,
hey, there is one thing too that I want to add to the whole conversation. And you're talking about certified payroll. I do remember when Daniel and I first split off and went on our own, there we had an opportunity to work with a company who all they did was a lot of government work. And I remember the booklet that they gave me of instructions that were required to follow was about this thick right here. And if I told you guys that going through that and just kind of skimming it a little bit didn't deter me from working with them, I'd be lying, because once I started reading into it and it was a foreign language, I pretty much just said, nope, not for me. And I didn't even entertain it. So don't be too afraid to involve yourself into reading the information that is presented to you, right? Like, I didn't take the time to go through it with a fine tooth comb. And I think if I did, I might have approached it a little bit differently and it might have educated me a little bit more. So,
Well, that kind of goes back to how we are as humans and our mindset stuff. I mean, if it looks really painful, we just don't do it. And you end up eventually, if you end up getting through one, you kind of are like, well, that wasn't near as bad as I thought it was going to be. So yeah, like I said earlier, I mean, if you can do it and you feel comfortable doing all the paperwork, by all means, jump in. Don't let any reluctancy drive you. Just get to know it. I mean, a lot of this is just not just this, but everything we talk about is about being teachable and being willing to learn and change. That's 90% of what the podcast really talks about. Just how can you improve? Well, you can't improve if you don't take some risks and change a little bit. And that's the same thing here. It's an opportunity. Judge it for yourself, and determine the risk factors that we've talked about on this episode. And if you feel comfortable with it, dive feet first. Don't be scared of the book, right?
Everything's an opportunity. Everything's an opportunity. You just got to look at it that way.
And every opportunity is a learning moment.
For sure. Well, speaking of learning moments, I hope everybody got some very specific information, but I hope everybody found some value in this. If you did, please consider giving us a like, subscribing to our YouTube channel. If you're watching us on Facebook or Instagram or LinkedIn or any of the different media outlets, consider giving us a thumbs up. So
Eduardo said that, dang, it's this big.
That's funny.
And then Kevin said that he's stopping by in 2 weeks. Figured he'd give us a heads up this time.
We'll be ready for you this time, brother. We'll have the box set up for you.
All right, guys. Well, without I guess that'll end this podcast here a little bit early, but I appreciate you jumping on late, Jose. There's my jab.
So sorry.
And thanks, Daniel. I appreciate you guys, and we'll see you guys next week, and probably chat in between. So,
all right.
Yes, sir.
Thanks, Paul.
Have a good one.
All right. Thanks, guys. See ya.